Hey guys, we're going to talk about being a prepper, being a survivalist, worried about this, worried about that, kind of a thing. There's a reason for it. This was, get right here. It's October 1984 from Survival Guide. And I'm going to move this over here for a minute. In the sense you can read this. So you and I stand at risk, but you bet I'll risk it. Risk to me is the spice of life that makes it worthwhile. Body surfing, flying, off-road racing, running rapids, rock climbing, fast motorcycles, all entertainments that involve a degree of danger. Indeed, none would be exhilarating without the element of bodily hazard. Risk of the name. Risk of my name being added to a government agency computer data bank, or the risk of being regarded as a loony, however, never entered my mind as I examined various possible futures, then decided to proclaim myself as a survivalist. Isn't defeatism the antithesis of survival? I abhor that label, defeatist. I love life and the entertainment risk and that comes from the above. I want to live life to the end, no matter what. In the turn of events, however, I'm like all you guys who dare to read this magazine, who share my love of learning attitudes and skills of survival. Our way of life and our attitudes as survivalists are suspect nationwide by reason of these events and by reasons of mass media simply doing their unusual job. In Arkansas, a self-proclaimed survivalist during the course of a routine traffic stop shot and killed an Arkansas state trooper. A short 2 weeks later, a paranoid schizophrenic, a victim of psychological and social anguish, and according to the media report, a survivalist, vented his life's frustration on the world is what now has become the McDonald Massacre. In Arkansas, Governor Bill Clinton is calling for a computerized listing of names and whereabouts of known survivalists, as these people may pose a threat to his state. In California, they're talking about making a memorial park out of the fast food outlet and doing a number of post-mortem examinations on the mass killer's brain in order to see what made this particular survivalist tick. A newspaper article quotes a learned investigator as saying all survivalists may at one time explode and become mass murderers. In light of these events, I've been talking with survivalist friends, contributing editors to this magazine, people who know what they're doing. I've asked them about their reactions to recent and past survival killings. Their attitudes and opinions range from shock and anger, particularly anger directed towards the media. Maybe it's time to get out of this business altogether, guys. The true meaning of survivalist is becoming blurred, lost in front-page headlines and TV reports on murders committed by so-called survivalists. Moreover, everyone who now, or has at one time, claimed to be a survivalist is at risk for having his or her identity sucked into a state and federal data bank, and soon. I'm not a killer. However, I'm a survivalist, and I am suspect as such. This guilt compounded by hysterical public association. I know that the minute fraction of 1% of survivalists are paramilitary, irrational, isolationist, paranoid, violent, murderous, and simply psycho people. They are not. Big Brother's computer and the media will lump us all, urban and rural, educated and dropout, madman and sane, male and female, religious and scientist, white collar, blue collar, all of us who are concerned about our futures, inside that data bank under the heading of survivalist. The very word that has come across this land to mean murderer. This is a smear, undeserved and painful on every steady, self-reliant citizen. Yet I remain proud to be called survivalist. I see political and economic collapse, higher interest rate, total funds owned by the U.S. by third world nations, and a huge federal deficit providing ample danger signals. I foresee the possibility of nuclear conflicts. Just read what the Russians said about our missiles in Europe. I foresee natural disasters. I live but a few miles from the San Andreas earthquake fault. I'm ready as I can be within my means for these and other forecasted upheavals. This is what survivalism means in the true sense. I am a U.S. citizen, a veteran, a husband, a father, a worker at a craft, a taxpayer, an abider of law, and I think an honorable man. I resent the fact that these many people may believe otherwise because I am a survivalist. All who claim to be survivalists are now at risk. They are at risk of being put into a computer data bank. There's risk of being regarded as murderers' cuckoos. There is risk of anti-survival legislation being proposed and enacted. There is a risk of invasion of privacy. This is perhaps future risk of arrest and detainment when Big Brother decides to take preemptive action against all self-proclaimed, self-identified survivalists. No matter what, he says, nothing's going to deter me from my program of self-reliance and survival for myself and my family. Survivalists? You bet. This is from Dave Epperson. Now, Dave Epperson and I kind of corresponded back for a while until the Survival Guide was taken over by American Survival Guide. Some guy out there bought the place. Thank you for your kind words in the October issue. This is one place that I have latitude to get emotional and tell it like I believe it is, personally. You can believe it when I say I don't like lists. For example, my wife works for the county probation department because she is a trained clinical psychologist. She wished to change from the probation department to the mental health department. She applied for the job and was told that she would have to undergo a security check. Time passed, and when she was called in for an interview, in essence, the mental health supervisor told her this: our security investigation shows that you're okay, but your husband is a radical conservative husband of yours. He writes about guns and terrorism. End of interview. Carol, who is now my ex-wife, didn't get the job because my name was on somebody's list. I have never been convicted of a felony or even a misdemeanor. This list thing makes me angry. If the British had taken away a couple shiploads of Pennsylvania rifles and Kentucky rifles, Hawkins and Senecas, our forefathers wouldn't have had to start the war that set us free. I used to teach survival, bailout and deep-sea ditching survival to Navy air crews long before the word survivalist was coined. To me, survival means staying alive no matter what, using tools and tactics learned in advance of any possible event. I agree with you that the future belongs to those who see beyond today. Floods, hurricanes, nuclear war, earthquakes, whatever. If you're ready for it, you might just survive. If not, you're ready to die. It's up to you to choose to be ready. Another one, he says, everybody's afraid of something, and getting ready to meet the threat is the best way to overcome fear. Sad but true, the civil defense has been disbanded, and it's only now a file of papers in Washington, D.C. Congress has not seen fit to appropriate funds for shelters, food, medicine, etc., and is not planning to do so. The crisis relocation plan, which is in California here, would put millions out on the desert without no food or water. It's only a plan, a piece of paper. The self-reliant people must do for themselves without Uncle Sugar's help. No place of business that I know has a nuclear strike plan. In a way, it's good for us people to plan for ourselves and our family. While they are dithering in a panic mode, we'll be digging in, moving to retreats and the like. Our black-tailed jacks out here were being killed off by plague, which would kill mankind if it wasn't for the antibiotics. The rabbits die off in cycles. A couple years from now, they'll be back by the hundreds. Nobody ever said foraging with snares is easy. I've given it a try and I've never caught enough for me and my wife to live on. Nowhere in this country is there wild game enough to support even any kind of population after a nuclear exchange. You're right about being a jack of all trades. I make my living as a metalsmith, welder, commercial pilot, logger, radio bucking stalker, harness horses. I also work as a editor because I like this job better than the other ones. I've been over to Germany and England since I last wrote you. Nobody has guns over there except the criminals. Thought I'd share that with you guys. But I was on a radio talk show with Deb Purbain from the Purbain channel, YouTube channel. It's on a talk show, and we were talking, and I told her, you know, it's going to come a time when these preppers, you know, these back to the land people, and that's what they were in the 70s and 80s, they were back to the land people, and then somebody put the name, labeled them as survivalists. But I told her, you know, these preppers today, you're going to start seeing them drop off because they're afraid. The more stuff they put in the newspapers, it makes these people go underground with their motives, techniques, their videos. It goes underground. They don't want to be thrown in jail for, you know, trying to stay alive. It's really scary. But I kind of lost my train of thought here. But the preppers and survivalists, you kind of got to watch what you're doing. If something gets to the wrong people, and then they think you're a wacko, that's all they need anymore. I mean, you could be a pastor of a church. It doesn't matter. If they want to label you and lump you into something, that's what happened. That's like what happened here. I was looking at this. I forgot about this. But this is media reports of domestic violence is vastly exaggerated. It's something like 3%. And this was September 9th, 1997. What it says here, and this is what's happening all across America, and you can thank the Democrats for this. By exaggerating reports, they have created a climate in which men are assumed to be vicious and are easily damned in a child custody discussion. Women are assumed to be victims who need the government to bail them out of bad relationships. The family dynamics continues to deteriorate as divisive rhetoric alienates the sexes. They're trying to tear the family apart, just like they keep tearing at the Constitution like a quilt, so they can get it unraveled. You know, they pass all these laws because they're afraid of something. You know, if they're afraid of something, they should be worried about our Constitution being destroyed. But no, they're not. Constitution and the Bill of Rights. Keep that in mind, people. But I wanted to bring that up about the survivalists, the preppers, and stuff out there, because you'll see them go off of YouTube. Maybe it's not because of this AdSense thing that you keep talking about, but maybe they're afraid that they're going to get lumped into something that they don't want to be involved with. All they want to do was live. If things go to hell, they want to be able to survive on their own without government influence. Because the government's not going to be there. The government takes care of itself. They don't take care of the people. Thanks for watching.